you know, I thought that's bloody pathological when you stand up in front of a whole bunch of young people who have their whole future in front of them and you say, well, you know, you're such a horrid creature in your very core that it would be a moral violation for you to propagate. It's like, you know. So, I mean, one of the things that's happened to me is, like, I kind of like people. You know, they're peculiar and weird, like hippopotamuses and rhinos and penguins and all that, but, you know, I certainly don't think that we're some sort of cancer on the planet. I really think that's a pre-genocidal idea as far as I'm concerned. It's like the planet would be better off without any people on it. It's like, hey, glad you're not near the old thermonuclear button. Yeah, really, really, you know, it's like, that's an archetypal idea. Fire will cleanse everything. It's like, beware of those ideas, boy. You know, and so I can see the intrinsic dignity of people and their intrinsic value and how that can be expressed across time. And, you know, and I value that. It's something pristine and remarkable. You know, and understanding, I believe that understanding these ideas properly can give you that kind of orientation. You know, I mean, everybody's flawed and useless and half crazy, I mean, obviously, but, you know, that's not exactly the point. There are reasons we are flawed and useless and half crazy. You know, life is hard, and we're finite, and, you know, so we have big problems that confront us. It's like, I don't think any sane person cannot be crazy, so to speak. But having said all that, the idea that there's something intrinsically pathological about human being is like, that is an absolutely, what's the word? Apocalyptic idea. It's like, beware of people who tell you such things. You know, so, and it's certainly not something you should be thinking about yourself. God, it's like, who knows what you're up to, you know, maybe some of you will be great people, you know, good luck with it. And I'm not asking you to believe anything I tell you. It's like, don't. Hack away at it, man. See if you can see where it's flawed. I can't. I've tried. So, because I don't want to be standing on sand. And so what I've tried to do is to look at human history and prehistory and to see what it is that we need to move forward. And we have to be united with our history. Human beings are historical creatures. And so if there's a divide between us and our history, then all sorts of weird ideas are going to invade us. You know, it's like, it's quite funny because, again, with the rationalist atheists, you know, they basically think that if we dispense with religion, everybody would turn into René Descartes, you know. It's like, we'd be all rational. It's like, are you out of your bloody mind? Look at the New Age people. You know, that's where we'd be going first. It's like, we'd be like Shirley, what's her name, MacLaine, who I read once believed that the reason that there were so many allergies in San Francisco was because of aliens. It's like, oh, that's a much more likely place for human belief systems to end up than like, poof, we're all René Descartes. Like, that's not going to happen. You know, one of the things Jung said, which I just loved, he said, the purpose of religious structures is to stop people from having religious experiences. Now, that's a smart saying. And how right are we? Well, we don't know. You know, I mean, there were people that, I read somebody in the 1970s, he was a journalist. He wrote a book called The Ghost in the Machine, you know, and this was a fairly common proposition at the time. His idea was that, well, you know, we're animals that have become self-conscious, and that basically drove us incurably insane. And so we're like an evolutionary dead end, and it's only a matter of time before we extinguish ourselves. It's like, that's possible, you know. No other animal has ever become self-conscious. It's a big burden, you know, and it does drive people kind of crazy, and no wonder, you know, because you have to contemplate your mortality all the time, or at least some of the time. And also you're completely aware of how useless and ugly and, you know, all these other things you are compared to whatever the ideal might be. It's a lot of burden. But it seems to me too that human beings are peculiar in that we can actually choose. We have some facility for choice. I think we can decide whether we're an evolutionary dead end or not. And I also believe that grounding our thinking in these ancient ideas makes it far less likely that we're going to fall prey to ideological possession, which is extraordinarily dangerous, and it'll also give us the meta framework to conceptualize what might constitute an ideal. And, well, so, you know, that's because I wanted to find out what's an alternative to ideology. And nothing is the wrong answer, because people can't live on nothing. Life is too hard. You have to see that your being is justifiable in order to thrive. And given that your being is characterized by suffering, that's no easy matter. Suffering and limitation, that's the basic truths of life. It's a Buddhist doctrine for that matter, right? You're doomed, and there's going to be a lot of pain along the way. It's like, yeah, that's true. Okay, now we've got that out in the open. What do you do about it? Well, that's the question. You have some sense of where you are. And that's like a theory. It's a theory of who you are and where you are. It's a theory of the present. These are the present conditions. Now, you might think you observe the present around you, and those are factual observations, and so your conceptualization of the present isn't a theory, it's a fact. But don't be thinking that, you know. It's a theory. You might be wrong about the present. The person you're in love with might be having an affair, right? So there can be massive gaps in your assumptions about the present, you know. You think you're healthy, but maybe you're not, you know. You think your boss likes you, but maybe they don't. You think your degree is going to be useful, but maybe it isn't, you know. Well, it's just a straightforward observation, but it's an important one. You could be wrong about now. What happens if you find out that you're wrong? So for example, you're going out with someone, you love them, perhaps they've made promises to you, and you know, poof, you find out that they've been having an affair with 3 people for the last 5 years. It's like, hey, you're wrong. And so now where are you? What does that mean that you're wrong? Well, it means a lot of things. It means a lot of things that it might mean a lot more things than it means, which is a very strange thing.